Good evening, welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is the Marion City Council meeting for March 19th, 2026. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Miskman?
Here.
Mr. Uniman? Mr. Jensen?
Here.
Mayor Abu Asali?
Present.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Ms. Menser? Mr. Harper?
Here. Thank you. This time we have a moment of silence. Thank you. First item on the agenda is a public forum, which is a time set aside for comments from members of the public. There are two public forums on the agenda. The first one is for comments on any topic that is on the agenda but not part of a public hearing. If anyone's here to address council on a topic that is part of a public hearing, there will be time during the public hearing to make comments. If anyone is here to address council on a topic that is not on the agenda, that will be for the second public forum towards the end of the meeting. Okay, before we begin, I would like to review the rules of procedure for public comments. Anyone wishing to address council, please complete the yellow card at the end of the table and deliver it to the city clerk before speaking. Please step up to the podium and speak into the microphone as the meetings are recorded. Please do not approach the dais where the council sits. If you have handouts, please submit them to the city clerk for distribution to the council. You're encouraged to state your name and any group affiliation. Anyone wishing to speak at the public forum will be provided a maximum of 5 minutes to make their comments. We appreciate everyone's cooperation in adhering to that. Please do not engage in any conduct or speech that is imminently threatening to any person or which incites violence or which is obscene. Please avoid making any disparaging remarks regarding any individual. Keep the comments pertinent to the topic. Please avoid repeating comments or points made by previous speakers. Please do not engage in any conduct that disrupts the orderly progress of the meeting or engage in speech or conduct which interferes with the other people's ability to participate in the meeting. Failure to adhere to these guidelines or engaging in any disruptive speech or behavior will, after a warning, result in removal from the meeting. We appreciate everyone's cooperation in observing these rules of procedure. Okay, so the first public forum is now open. If anyone is here to address the city council on any topic that is on the agenda but not part of a public hearing, please come forward. Welcome.
My name is Shelley Doyle. This is my husband, Jason. We are the owners of Doyle Masonry that is located at 560 31st Street here in Marion. We have requested that an easement be vacated on our property, a 15-foot easement that was put in place, requested by the fire department and water department at the time, who planning and zoning, water department, fire department have reviewed the matter and have determined the access portion of that easement is no longer needed. We do have security footage that does document deliveries to the neighboring property, which is Economy Auto, that they are able to complete this via the access that has been that has been set aside via 30th Street, as well as the 34-foot easement that is to the west of their property. And that was established on the final plat when these properties were divided. We did as well hire a professional commercial driver to attempt a delivery to this property. He was able to complete that. It was a 70-foot tractor trailer combination, and he was able to complete that without any difficulties by using only 30th Street and not crossing onto our property at any times. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council, please come forward. Seeing no one else is coming forward, we will close this part of the meeting and proceed to the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. Items A1 through F3, resolutions 32762 through 32781.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including items A1 through F3, resolutions 32762 through 32781. Discussion. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. For the next section, I will turn over the meeting to Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Aboasley's abstention as follows. Items D1 through E2, resolutions 3278 through 32784.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve items D1 through E2, resolution numbers 32782 through 32784. Is there any discussion on these? All those in favor of these items, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The consent agenda is approved with Mayor Aboasley's abstention, and he'll take the meeting back.
Yes, Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 26-03, amending chapter 122 of the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding regulations for electric bikes and scooters. This is our second consideration.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the second consideration of ordinance number 26-03, amending chapter 122 of the Code of Ordinances regarding regulations for electric bikes and scooters. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion to approve ordinance number 26-03, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. Next item is a public hearing regarding the status of funded activities regarding community development block grant disaster recovery program for the library generator project. So we have a presentation. Hi.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Comer. I work for the East Central Iowa Council of Governments. I'm the grant administrator for the Marion Library Generator, and I just have a status of that project per requirement from the grant. So it's a little bit robotic, but I'll read through this script, and then if anyone has any questions, I can take those at the end. But the purpose of this hearing is to consider the status of funded activities for the Marion Library Generator as assisted by the Community Development Block Grant Program Contract Number 20 DRI 014. As required for this hearing, it's noted that for a general description of accomplishments to date, a CDBG disaster recovery emergency generator contract in the amount of $100,000 was awarded to the City of Marion from the Iowa Economic Development Authority for the installation of a generator at the Marion Public Library. A release of funds was issued on April 12th, 2024. A pre-construction meeting was held on August 7th, 2025, and work began on September 17th, 2025. The project is set to be completed by April 6th, 2026, and a required site visit will be conducted by IEDA on March 27th, 2026. For a summary of funding of the activity and source of funds and total funds spent thus far by source, as of March 19th, 2026, a total of $2,996.22 has been invoiced and paid for project delivery service using CDBG funds. For a general description of remaining work on the project is installing the generator and automatic transfer switch during a scheduled power shutdown at the library. And for a general description of changes made to the project budget, performance targets, activity schedules, project scope, location, objectives, or beneficiaries, due to delays in equipment being delivered, the contract for this project was extended through May 31st, 2026.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Kara, so is this a time to ask for public comment on this, or?
Yes, so after the presentation, then you can open it up for people in support of, or however you want to do it for normal. Yep.
Normal public hearing, okay.
Yep.
And then, should we take questions first from council, since I don't see there's not a following resolution.
Right, it would be entirely up to you what order you want to do it, but yeah, I mean, questions from council would be appropriate at this
Go ahead
time.
and take council questions at this time. Go ahead. Right.
Yeah, so when is the targeted date for the generator to be in operation?
I think
And also, I guess what goes along with that is targeted date for the outage for installation of the switchgear and all.
so that's on April 6th, and they should be completed at the end of that day. I don't know when it will be in operation. Someone from the city knows, but it should be up and running that day. But I know there's sometimes a couple days or like a 30-day retainage period. I'm not sure.
Okay. You've covered, I think, most of what I was interested in. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else with questions? Okay, we'll take public comment at this time. If anyone's here to address council either in favor or in opposition to this measure, please come forward. Okay, were there comments outside the meeting received by staff?
I have received no comments.
Okay, none.
No comments with Public Works.
Okay, thank you.
And no comments at the library.
Okay, thank you. Note that for the record, and we'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next item is a public hearing on the 2026 sanitary improvement project. Give a presentation.
Yes, Your Honor. So this is our annual sanitary sewer improvement project. What this is going in and where we have existing sanitary mains where maybe the pipes have settled or they've been crushed just from time being underground. So these are what we call point repairs. So we need to dig it up to get to that point, fix it, put Fernco's on it, and then fill it back in. You can see on the map here, all those red dots are the different locations for this project. So this is based on our footage that when we run our cameras to the pipe to see where there's issues. And then once we've addressed these issues, then we can go in and slip line. But typically the joints are too much of an offset that we can't just slip line it and fix it. We need to actually do that modification. In this case, it did come in above the engineer's estimate and budget. So we still recommend proceeding with this project. And then what we'll do is we'll prioritize based on that map where the worst ones are, and we'll change order ones out that we can wait one more year to do. So we are recommending proceeding with the project. The low bid is Ratchet Construction, $374,480, 126% of the engineer's estimate, has a completion date of November 13th of 26 and $1,000 per day in liquidated damages.
Thank you. This time, the public hearing is open. If anyone's here to address council, either in favor or in opposition to this measure, please come forward. Okay, we'll ask staff if any comments were received outside the meeting.
I have not received any.
If not,
Okay, please note that for the record. We'll close the public hearing. Proceed to the motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the project calendar regarding the 2026 sanitary sewer improvement project as follows. Resolutions 32785 and 32786.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the 2026 sanitary sewer improvements project, including resolutions 32785 and 32786. Discussion? Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so Mike, you talked about the slip lining. So we already talked about the slip lining project. Is that also going to be scheduled in this same area where all these red dots and these repairs are going to occur?
No, so that was, I believe, at the last council meeting, was the slip lining. So next year, likely.
Okay, so you do the repairs and then the following year you do the slip lining. So next year the slip lining will be in this area.
Yep.
Second question. So these are pretty concentrated in the, what I would consider the central older part of Marion. Is that kind of been the trend
Yes.
where we're seeing all of these?
So in that case, most of the time they're 3 or 4 foot long pieces of clay, and clay over that many years has issues. So like if we're going to do a complete reconstruction like we're doing on First, we will actually televise and look at it and see what condition it is, because before we put a new street on it, let's make sure that the infrastructure underneath is solid. So sometimes, or maybe it's so shallow that it conflicts with storm sewer. So maybe the street didn't have storm sewer and we need to lower the sewers so we can actually get them both to function on the street. So we address them on each project. So when Jake looks at the pavement management information, that's his first blush, but then also looking at the infrastructure and what else do we have to do with that.
Okay, thanks.
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Mike, you said that the bid came in at about 126% above your engineering estimate. I just want to be clear, for that portfolio of project locations, you're going to examine those and do the ones that are the most degraded on a priority basis?
Correct.
And is that to go ahead and the total work scope still meet the bid amount, or are you going to scale it back so that you're trying to hit your engineering estimate?
So we will get it back to budget.
Okay.
So that we're using the most, same thing if the numbers came in really well, we will be doing a change order to expend more.
Okay.
So we're
Okay.
always gonna try and align to that budget as close as we can.
Okay, so that portfolio of locations, a subset of that will be probably then done and with a change order. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Right. All those in favor of the motion to approve the project calendar for the 2026 sanitary sewer improvement project, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. Next item is a public hearing regarding the Hannah Park Culvert Project. Presentation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. So this is I'll start with the location map. So on South Sixth Street, there used to be a small bridge that went over that area for the trail for those users in the Grand Avenue area to get to in the Hannah Park that had rusted and was no longer safe. So what we did was we put together a box culvert plan so that we can put the box culvert in there and then put the trail on top of it to maintain that access point into the park. We did get 4 bids for it. Rachi Construction was the low bid on this at $159,588.90, 87.3% of the engineer's estimate. Has a completion date of 11/13/26, and again, $1,000 per day in working day damages if they go over that time. So we are recommending proceeding with the project and the bids.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. If anyone is here to address council, either in favor or in opposition to this measure, please come forward. Again, we'll ask the staff if any comments were received outside the meeting.
I have not received any.
We have not.
Okay. Please note that for the record, we'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the project calendar regarding the Hannah Park Culvert Project, as follows. This will include resolution numbers 32787 and 32788.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the Hannah Park Culvert Project, including resolutions 32787 and 32788. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. Next item is a public hearing on the 31st Street Sidewalk Extension Project. Go ahead with the presentation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. So this is installing sidewalk on the west side of 31st Street from McGowan to 25th Street to fill in that sidewalk gap. As you know, that's right next to the school. It's right next to the city park. It's where the farmer's market used to be. And that way then the sidewalk is connected and fills in that gap for that side of the road. So we are recommending proceeding with that project. The low bid came in from Midwest Concrete at $154,008, which was 78.5% of the engineer's estimate. That's a late start date of 7/27 of 26, 40 working days, and $1,000 per working day in liquidated damages. And we are recommending proceeding with the bids and the project.
Okay, thank you. Anyone here to address council, either in favor or in opposition to this measure, please come forward. Okay, and we'll ask the staff if anyone has submitted comments outside the meeting.
I have not received any.
If not,
Thank you. Please note that for the record. We'll close the public hearing.
Switch classes. Mayor, I move to approve the project calendar regarding the 31st Street Sidewalk Extension Project as follows. Resolutions 32789 through 32790.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the 31st Street Sidewalk Extension Project, including resolutions 32789 and 32790. Discussion. Questions for staff? Yes, go ahead.
Mike, recently we reviewed our policy on when residents would be financially liable for any sidewalk repairs. My understanding of that policy clarification that we examined, in this particular case, I believe there's no pre-existing developer agreements that exists. So I wanted to confirm this project won't be partially billable back to the individual residents in this area of scope.
correct. I believe there's one or two properties that would be south of Tovey Park and then obviously quite a few to the north. If we were to assess, there would be a whole assessment process that we'd be proceeding with as part of that.
Yeah, I just wanted to have clarity on that point. And then the other, I guess, point of clarification for the record, what motivated this was a resident, I guess, the word just evaporated out of my mind. Petition, thank you, that set this all in motion a couple of years ago. Yeah. All right, thanks.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the project calendar for the 31st Street Sidewalk Extension Project, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 26-04, amending chapter 313-4.4 of the Code of Ordinances, establishing the speed limits on Highway US 151 and Iowa 13, and this is our second consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 26-04, amending chapter 313-4.4 of the Code of Ordinances, establishing the speed limits on Highway 151 and Highway 13. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of approving ordinance number 26-04, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to remove from table resolution 32761, approving the vacation of a 15-foot access easement along the southern property line of Lot 3, Barnes First Edition, 560 31st Street, Marion, Iowa.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to remove from the table resolution number 32761, approving the vacation of the 15-foot access easement along the southern property line of Lot 3, Barnes First Edition. Any discussion on the motion to remove from the table? All those in favor of removing the motion from the table, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 32761, approving the vacation of a 15-foot access easement along the southern property line of Lot 3, Barnes First Edition at 560 31st Street, Marion, Iowa. This is brought by Jason and Shelley Doyle. And this was originally tabled March 5th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 32761, approving the vacation of the 15-foot access easement on the southern property line of Lot 3, Barnes First Edition. Any discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I guess what I should say is with respect to the petitioners, Mr. and Mrs. Doyle, I did go out. I took the purpose of the table was for me to get a better visual understanding of what was going on there. And quite honestly, once I had done that, I had indicated to Chief that I had no concern about that relative to any emergency access. And so I was fully satisfied. I really appreciate your forbearance on allowing that extra time for me just to get that inspection done. So I appreciate that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution number 32761, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 26-05, approving a rezoning request from Lynn County A agricultural to MR2 high density multifamily residential and community business for properties located north of Highway 100, south of Muner Road, and east of South 31st Street, Marion, Iowa. Second consideration.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 26-05, approving the rezoning request from agriculture to high-density multifamily residential and community business for the properties located north of Highway 100, south of Muner Road, and east of South 31st Street. Discussion? All those in favor of approving ordinance number 26-05, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. This time we have our second public forum for the evening. Anyone here to address council, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor Ablasali and council members. My name is Ann Harris Carter. I live on Beaver Avenue in Cedar Rapids, and I'm here today as a concerned citizen and to lend my voice to the chorus of the Coalition for Positive Change. First, I do want to say congratulations to the mayor and the entire council on the State of the City address last week. I have spoken admirably of economic development in Marion in this very chamber. And so I know that when the mayor says the possibilities are endless, and when the mayor refers to Marion as a city of opportunity, The desire for that to be more than a slogan is real. But many of us are here today because of an officer-involved shooting on February 4th that took the life of Saver Bernard, just 18 years young. So this is not a time of celebrating community growth. It is a time of honoring loss and grief and recognizing the impact of trauma throughout the larger community. It is a time for deep reflection and consideration for how our future might be different. I continue to wrestle with two questions, and I know the answers are not quick and easy, but one is, why was a mental health liaison not on the scene the morning of February 4th? I do not pretend to understand the ins and outs of dispatch, but I do know that the Attorney General's report makes no mention of a mental health liaison. And then secondly, what if the officers had responded to the mental health crisis with the same sense of urgency that they responded to the physical crisis as they administered CPR? I imagine those in law enforcement undergo rigorous training on physical safety. I am curious how mental health training compares. And to be clear, I am not trying to turn officers into mini-me therapists, but simply to be adept at recognizing signs and knowing when to call for help. So I learned something yesterday. You all probably know this already. March is National Criminal Justice Month. I actually read that in a NAMI newsletter. NAMI is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And they talked about their efforts to decriminalize mental illness, citing some contributing factors, and I'm quoting, policies such as zero tolerance policing, nuisance laws, and mandatory sentences for drug offenses. Assumptions that people with mental health conditions are violent. The lack of a robust mental health crisis response infrastructure. So I often refer to the silver lining of COVID because of the way mental health became a much more frequent and almost natural topic, especially in the news. A statistic that NAMI frequently quotes, and maybe you all have heard this, is that 1 in 5 adults will experience mental illness each year. Yet, in the first year of the pandemic, 4 in 10 adults in the US reported symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorder, up from 1 in 10 the year before. And this is personal to me. I know the experience of trying to help a child through a mental health crisis, of helping a teen through a mental health crisis. I know the experience of being in a mental health crisis myself. For 18 years, I've taken medication for bipolar type 2. Bipolar is a brain disorder that causes shifts between high and low moods. With bipolar type 2, the high moods are characterized by hypomania and the low moods are characterized by depression. While bipolar 2 can look like depression, the treatment is different. In fact, treating bipolar type 2 solely with antidepressants can trigger mania or hypomania. With mental illness, the stigma is such that on average, people wait 10 years before seeking help, and that applies to me. And it took me another 10 years before I spoke openly about my experiences. I'm here today because I know we not only need a vision, but we need political will. We need political will for those who are able to sit at a table where not everyone agrees. We need political will to bridge entities and jurisdictions, and we need political will to prioritize budgets that support systems change. Thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else to address council, please come forward. Welcome.
Oh. All right. Oh, crud. My glasses broke, but I'm just going to put them on anyway. It's just sitting there. I'm not doing it. Okay. All right. We're going to try to make this work. Okay. Hello, Mayor and member of council. I am Iris Strong, and I live in Marion, Iowa. It has been 43 days since Saber's life was taken by a city official during what was described as a mental health crisis. In that time, this council has had every opportunity to lead with empathy. Instead, the community has witnessed a disturbing pattern of silence and exclusion. At the last meeting, Saber's aunt, my friend Erica, your constituent, reminded you of your fundamental duty. She stated, it is about ensuring that every life is treated with dignity, even in tragedy. It is about making sure families are not left in silence while official statements move forward without them. As leaders of this city, you have the power and the responsibility to demand transparency, to ensure that policies reflect compassion as well as procedure. You have the authority to make sure no other family experiences this kind of silence in their darkest hour. We are here today because it appears those words were heard, but not heeded. March 10th, you, our city, released your statement. Audio and video footage of that tragic and traumatic officer-involved shooting of Saber. This was done without a single heads up or courtesy notification to Saber's family, his father, his aunt, or his grandmother, and all the rest of his family members, and all of which are your constituents. This leads to a difficult but necessary question. Was the officer or his family given a heads up before that was released? Rather than engaging with the grieving family, the city doubled down on its narrative of distance and silence, delegating the official response to a disconnected video, which has now surpassed 5,000 views. All comments on your Facebook page have been deleted or hidden, except one complimentary of how the situation was professionally handled, evidence of good training and discipline. From 6 days ago, all other comments deleted, erased. Is there a reason for that? Were you mindful of the social media comments prior to them, to that berated the family? We must ask ourselves what it takes for a family to be visible to this council. Would the treatment be different if the family had lived in a different neighborhood? They held a higher socioeconomic status? They didn't have mental health crises? They didn't have a mental health need? They served as city or staff or city board or commissions? What if they were different race or gender? What if they had a high-power lawyer or retainer? When you look at our constituents, at your constituents, do you see neighbors or do you see liabilities? Do you consider how this one situation has been handled to inform your communication, your policy, and your mental health support, or community engagement plan? It costs nothing to provide a family with the dignity of a phone call before their trauma. Yes, Sabers and the officers involved. Whenever it's broadcast, a call should have been made. We were waiting for you to take one step toward compassion and fulfill your responsibility to provide oversight that is both transparent and human with regard of them being a neighbor, a constituent, a partner in making this a moment of learning and positive change. For you out here, please stand if you are also here to support a positive change in our community, to learn and do better for Saber, the officers involved, and their families. You see them? See them. See us. See Saber. Thank you. Classes.
Anyone else here to address council, please come forward.
Hello, Mayor, members of council. My name is Anna Clymer. I live at McGowan Boulevard here in Marion for over 20 years now. I stand here as a taxpayer, as a neighbor, and a board member of the Marion Alliance for Racial Equity. And most importantly, a friend to Erica Bernard and the family. For years, we have been your partners. We sat at your task force discussions, stood against hate when neo-Nazis marched in our streets, sat around dinner tables focused on highlighting and celebrating our diversity and prompting community engagement. We have done that work, the work asked of us by our community members because we believe in an inclusive Marion. But reaching higher cannot just be a slogan while an 18-year-old child of our community is killed by those sworn to protect him. Tonight, your brand promise that Marion is the best place in Iowa to raise a family rings hollow. A family in our community no longer has their child to raise and no longer has that choice. If you truly commit to acting with integrity and being accountable, then silence and delay scheduling for connecting with countless requests by various community members here also rings hollow, including people that spoke at the March 4th City Council meeting a couple weeks ago. You say you envision a community that preserves the dignity of all people. How did the events of February 4th preserve the dignity of Saber or his family? This is not just a Marion issue, it's a systemic crisis. In Iowa, Black residents make up only 4% of the population, yet are 5 times more likely to be killed by police than white residents. To try to address this, we demand more than a proclamation focused on equity or mental health. We demand a unified multi-agency approach to accountability, including interagency standardization to align use of force policies across Marion, Cedar Rapids, other surrounding cities and counties, and Lynn County, to the highest restrictive standards prioritizing de-escalation. Mental health oversight, a funded public review through a public health lens into which mental health professionals are why they were not utilized on February 4th, despite dispatch calls specifying the need, and how this can inform future practice, policies, and procedures. A sense of human-centered transparency, somehow a new protocol ensuring families are notified by trauma-informed advocates, not just police, and are given timely access to body cam footage and dispatch calls before they are widely shared to the media without as much as a courtesy call of when that would occur. And community oversight. Inclusion of impacted community members is critical in policy reviews. We need restorative justice, not just an administrative closure. We are looking for a way through all of this collectively, which I would think is what you'd all want, given the investment, the public safety and immediate transparent action has been invested in with time from many of us and you as well. Please set a date for a meeting. Show us that all actually includes the Black lives impacted in our city. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Nick and members of City Council and the city staff. My name is Reverend Joshua Shamir Milam. I live in your newfound resident on English Glen Avenue. I stand before you tonight as a returning resident and a hopeful change maker. For some of you that may remember me from my service on the Marion Equity Task Force in 2020, where we worked together to build a roadmap for a more equitable city. It was in September 2020, the city made a specific commitment to a timeline to collect and analyze police data to determine the need for added accountability that has now been over 5 years. And while we receive various progress reports scattered through the City Rights Commission and the city's site and the micro level accountability, but what we were promised remains unaccounted for. According to Marion 2025 annual report, public safety expenditures reached over 17 million to 49% of our total budget. And we have invested over $1 million of analytical software and dashboard trainings and now tasers. But as a resident and a former task force member, I have to ask a question. Where are the outcomes? Is the disproportionality stops, tickets, and charges for people of color going down, staying the same, or increasing? Have we successfully recruited and, more importantly, sustained a diverse workforce? How is the 5-year mountain of data actually informing the strategic planning process that began this year under our new police chief? But we aren't just asking for transparency. We're asking for the accountability you promised back in 2021. And I'm asking, as someone who was invested then and remains even more invested now, especially in the wake of the tragedy on February 4th, that was one of our kids. That when police-involved loss of life occurs in our backyard, the proactive measures are no longer enough. We need proven results for the sake of our community, for the officers involved, and most importantly, for Brother Saber and the families this city remains and claims to serve. That when will this council host a public discussion to re-engage the Voices of Equity Task Force and share the formal analysis the last 5 years? It is time to show us that our investment, both in our tax dollars and our community's trust, is being honored. It's imperative that this council sits down with us, as many here have requested, in early April, so we can talk honestly and thoroughly about what progress looks like from this point moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council?
I was going to write something down, but I was here a couple weeks ago and I expressed to all of you how my family was treated since this incident has occurred. And I still get silence, and it's disheartening because I've lived here for years and years and years and invested a lot of volunteer hours in this community to make it better. The silence is deafening. Even an email saying that we heard you and we're trying to work out a way to communicate with you. If you have to go through lawyers, it would have been better than nothing. And that's painful. That good job that it's almost went viral. This video that was seen all over, that I didn't get just the common decency of a phone call to say that it's going to be sent out while my daughter's working at a hospital taking care of people, while I'm teaching the future nurses to take care of patients, while my son's just trying to get through his last year of school. No one thought 1 second to call us and just give us a little heads up that the video was going to be shown all across with this dialogue. That's still just your voice and your perspective. And I'm not a mind reader, but I'm pretty sure that if it was Gage or Steve or Mayor Nick or Will or anybody's name in this area, if it was your family members, you would have got a heads up. Because it says in this creed that we have that all the people have dignity, but I don't feel like I'm a part of the all anymore. And I don't know when that changed. I always thought I was a part of the all when I showed up at parent conferences, when I volunteered at Linmar High School, when I volunteered at Wilkins Elementary School, when I had healthcare events, when I have events at the library to bring cultures together. I thought I was a part of the all until February 4th, and now I'm not all of a sudden. So please think about if you're a part of the all or if we're all a part of the all, because right now I don't feel like it. And that doesn't mean I'm gonna not stop doing all the good work that I know is needed for this community, but I wanna be a part of the all again. And I don't know how to do that without you guys. So please have a conversation with us about how we were treated post February 4th, my family, my brother, my mother. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Dr. Ray Coleman. I pastor the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church in Cedar Rapids. The Bernard family are near and dear to my heart. I want to share with you, really don't have to share with you, is your slogan, reach higher. Part of that reach higher is to make Marion this place where families can really dwell and belong. And as you see, as you hear, we have a family that doesn't have that same feeling. And it is my plea with you to do something about that. I know that you can. I know this situation is tough for not just one particular side, it's tough on all sides. But there's nothing that putting our heads together that we can't accomplish. The family is just asking for some of your time. Maybe not to speak with all the particulars of what happened that day, but maybe we can talk about how we can move forward, how we can keep other families from having to go through the same thing. And with that, I would ask that you would join me in a 30-second moment of silence and just remember Saber and his family. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Mayor Nick and City Council members. I'm here tonight because of the untimely death of Saber Bernard and because I care deeply about the mental health of our community and stand here as a person who knew Saber and know countless of other people that are going through a mental health crisis. In Marion County, about 1 in 4 adults have diagnosed with depression, and roughly 6 have seriously considered suicide. These aren't just numbers. These are neighbors, our classmates, our friends. These are real people. People like Saber and people like me. As a young person, Saber's life was cut short and shows what can happen when a person in crisis doesn't get the support that they need. Officers were trained to respond in a mental health crisis in this situation. But the real question is, how did it get to this point? How did a life reach a moment where the only response available was a confrontation that ended in death? It was reported Saber had at least contacted a mental health counselor before his death. That raises important questions. If he was seeking help, what was the follow-up in that place? Where did the system fall short? How do we prevent another life from being lost? Not just another life, a Marion and Landmar alumni and student, and this includes all residents of our community. Saber death impacts me the most, doesn't impact me the most, but other people, because I experienced this as well. I've been in a mental health crisis and I reached out for help, but instead of feeling support and feeling safe, I was confronted with police. That experience showed me that the system doesn't always respond in a way that keeps people safe, even when they take the brave step of reaching out. Marion's system currently relies on police as first responders for mental health crises. But Saber's case, in my own experience, show that police only response are not enough. This is not just about Saber. This is every person in Marion who's struggling silently. Every student, every parent, every neighbor. And the only time we respond to mental health crisis if it becomes life or death. But I truly believe we haven't failed. We can change. We can learn from this loss. We can demand better training. We can demand follow-up care. We can make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else. We owe it to Saber. We owe it to every person in our community who is struggling. Let's make sure that this system protects lives and not reacts to death. Let's make sure a preventable death like Saber Bernard's never happens again. The time is to act now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mayor and members of council. My name is April. I'm here tonight to speak on the tragedy of February 4th and a community that was met with silence after tragedy. What followed after the tragedy was release of body cam footage with a media statement slightly more than a month after this tragedy, but crucially just one day after the Attorney General released the report. And this video was released without giving the family any warning, even after heartfelt pleas on March 4th when we were here for communication just days prior. The family had no chance to prepare themselves, even though the police department had an entire month to prepare. 2 days, in that case, slightly over a month for the city, without true consideration to the family's grief, without consideration for the impact this would have on people closest to this loss. We have to acknowledge that tragedies like this are not isolated events. They create a ripple effect, a domino effect that impacts the children, siblings, parents, grandparents, extended family, and an entire community, as you can see here. Most importantly, they impact a father who is now left to process an unimaginable loss. And yet the response from the city, you guys, is protecting itself rather than caring for the people it's meant to serve. My question is, where is the compassion? Where's the empathy? And where's the leadership during moments like this? Families deserve clear communication, transparency, and time to grieve before deeply sensitive details are released public. There must be a better balance between transparency and human dignity, but beyond this, we also need to talk about accountability, not just actions, but in words. How are city employees held accountable for comments they make on public platforms, like Matt Leelig, for example, a paramedic? When tragedies like this occur, comment sections across social media and news outlets quickly fill with speculation, misinformation, and at times, deeply harmful remarks. These spaces become places where families are re-traumatized over and over and over again, where they feel forced to defend themselves, explain themselves, and relive their loss in real time. And no grieving family should have to monitor comment sections or attempt to correct narratives while they're still grieving. That's not fair. And this is where leadership matters, where a city and a county should be able to come together and shut the comment sections down when loss of life comes into effect and stories are put out. So my question is, why are comment sections left open on stories involving tragedies of this nature? Why isn't there a standard whether at a city or a county level, to limit or disable comments in these situations, especially when it involves loss of life. And more importantly, what expectations are being set for city employees and how they engage publicly during these moments. This is an opportunity for the city and the county to come together, not just as governing bodies, but as a community to set a standard of respect, compassion, and accountability. Because right now, what families are experiencing is not just grief, it's compounded trauma when things like this happen, and they see statements over and over and over again and are re-traumatized with statements like this that come out, and they have to defend themselves. I can't say for certain, but I strongly believe that if this was any of your families, like Erica stated, that you would have been given more than a day or even a few days of care, communication, and consideration before anything like this was made public. So I ask you tonight, how and will this change? How will you ensure accountability, not just in policy, but in behavior as a city? How will you protect families from further harm in a public space, like on...
You have 1 minute remaining.
Like in social media or news platforms like KCRG? And how will you lead with empathy when your community needs it most? Our families, our children, and our community deserve more. They deserve leadership that prioritizes people over process, compassion over control, and accountability at every level. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak once again. My name is Carmen Walker. I'm not a direct member of this community, but I do have ties to Marion because my beautiful daughter that just spoke, she graduated from Marion, and so did my son. And my husband pastors at First Baptist Church of Marion. So I probably do more work within Marion than I do within Cedar Rapids. I stand here not just to talk about what happened or to say I'm just standing for Saber, but I want to speak from a place of looking at both sides. How do we protect both sides? This incident with Saber, I believe, is going to cause a great change within Marion. And the reason why I say that is because when I talk to people within Cedar Rapids or I talk to people within Marion, a lot of the views of the police officers aren't good, especially when they come from people that's either not necessarily from here or they've lived here for so long and they don't feel safe. And I'm not just saying it's coming from people of color, it's coming from other diversities, whether it's white, black, whatever. That's the stigma that Marion police officers carry. And I don't believe all the police officers are bad because I've had interaction with some, and they're lovely people, you know, people that I would feel safe with or I feel protected by, but not everybody feels that way. And so I would love for us to take this opportunity Saber's death to make that change and to say, you know what? I see a great change in Marion. I see how they treat the people now. When they interact with kids, it's totally different. And so I really want to talk about how what can be done to provide that change. And for either, whether it's the police officer or whether it's somebody having a mental health crisis, or maybe they're not having a mental health crisis, how do the officers respond to that? And how do we make the individuals feel safe when they are approached by an officer? When it comes to mental health, if I'm not mistaken, Marion really doesn't have anything in place that I know of or that I have found. I'm a girl. I feel like I'm a part of the CIA when I start investigating stuff, but I really didn't see anything. And so that's one thing I want to talk about. Is it possible to incorporate training like the crisis intervention training, for instance? Mandatory mental health crisis training for every officer.
You have 1 minute remaining.
A clear written publicly accessible crisis response protocol. A 24/7 co-responder or clinician-led crisis team. And accountability measures when protocols are not followed. Those are things that I think that would help change the narrative within the community, help officers feel safe, and just the community in general. You guys want to build up Marion, you're doing a beautiful job of that. But if behind the scenes isn't fixed, Marion will just look safe instead of welcoming people in and they actually are safe. And so I really would love for you guys to think about that. And I'm not a talker, I'm a doer. So whatever I can do to make that happen, I'm willing to step in, and I'm sure I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I'm sure as a pastor, my husband would love to be a part of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council? Okay. That brings us to the conclusion of the meeting. Do we have any council comments? Grant?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
None.
Okay. Jared, were you going to, did you look at?
Just briefly, Your Honor, sorry, I apologize for not speaking up sooner. Just a real brief statement for council and the public's awareness with regard to any comments or posts on our social media. In general, we do have comments allowed on our posts. I verified that during this meeting that the comments are allowed. We do not delete comments off of our social media posts. If anything is hidden, that would be something that on occasion the social media outlets will either hide or remove comments. But I believe it was just this last year we brought forward our social media policy. And so we do not ever delete comments from our posts. With regard to a meeting, I do know that City Manager Ryan Waller reached out on March 13th, so last week, and at that time he had stated that he will be working on setting up a meeting or reconnecting in April, trying to get some additional regional partners involved and to discuss and address some of the concerns that were brought up this evening.
Thanks for sharing that. Okay. No further council comments? All right, that brings us to the conclusion of the meeting. The meeting is adjourned.